Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devin Decker, and joining me, my host companion, Sejan Sarowick. Hi, Sejan.
Hey, man, what's going on?
I almost called you a mushroom in French. I almost said my host champignon. That's where my head was at. I don't know why. I mean, I've been sitting in the chair for a minute, and I was starting to go a little stir crazy. And I've been in the chair for not a while. I took a break. I did some other things, but that's all for next week. That's all for next week, because right now, hopefully making amends, seeking salvation for the Twilight of the Golds, we are featuring our final entry into Brendan Fraser History Month 2026. And I got to tell you, Siege, I'm pretty excited about this one.
Yeah, man. No, I'm really pleased to report that anybody that heard us gush about this the last time is I'm still there.
Yeah, it is. It has been 6 months and a day to the day since we saw this film together. I was just going back through some of the photos we took on that day. Like that lovely little candid you snuck of me on stage at Boomerang's Roadhouse. Thank you for that, Siege. I do appreciate it. That was a good one. But yeah, no, it's Brendan Fraser History Month, and it's been a wild and wacky go of it so far. I don't know. I mean, thematically, this year was incredible. I don't think we kind of just picked up darts and threw them at our filmography that we've crossed out all the Brendan Fraser movies that we've covered. And what we ended up with, a couple of them that were celebrating their 30th anniversaries, Mrs. Winterbourne and Twilight of the Golds, one of which was great, one of which, well, we'll save that for next week, because honestly, I had a revelation yesterday about Twilight of the Golds, and it's not about the film. If it were about the film, I would gladly share it here. But no, I'm happy to leave that one in the past. That one stuck with me a little bit. We did The Passion of Darkly Noon. That was Sejan's choice. And it was a wonderful way to kick things off, honestly, with this whole year's look at Brendan Fraser this May and what we were doing this May. Now to end it with Rental Family, which is a Brendan Fraser film that we got to see for the first time together, right? You hadn't snuck in a viewing, right?
No. I mean, you and I experienced this together for the first time in that theater.
Yeah. Honestly, it would have been difficult for you to, because it came out 2 days before we saw it. It really kind of felt like they're like, oh God, the guys who do Brendan Fraser History Month, they're going to be together this weekend. We should release that Brendan Fraser movie that we've been working on since 2019. This film was in the works for such a long time, making it, I think, officially a movie twin to that Werner Herzog film that is about the same cottage industry in Japan, which I wish I could remember the name of. Let me, I have it right here.
I just notes. Imagining Werner Herzog covering this topic is, I have a funny feeling it's a very different point he's trying to make.
Yeah. Family Romance LLC is the 2019 film written and directed by Herzog that examines constructed relationships and emotional authenticity within modern Japanese society. But yeah, this was something that they were working on, and Herzog just got his done earlier. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I really love this film. It's so delightful. I was a little nervous that it might not hold up with a second watching. And I'm happy to report, I think I like it even more the second time through.
Yeah.
But where are you standing with this one?
I agree that it is a fantastic multi-watch, like watching it 2-3 times now. It's been fun each time. It's interesting because while I do think that it definitely fits in with the other 3 films that we've watched, it is definitely the most gentle of the 3, right? I mean, it still deals with some pretty heavy themes. It still gets kind of saccharine. It still gets kind of soap opera in moments, but Like, we're not talking about abortion. We're not talking about a pregnant woman dying in a train. We're not talking about purgatory. like, so I mean, like, so part of it is it was it was nice to just watch it, like a chill, gentle film, and that's exactly where this kind of falls for me. Is like, it's it's hard because we often think of like better art or higher art being challenging, right? But I don't know if this movie's really that challenging.
So I think the really interesting thing that I picked up on after this viewing, the viewing that I did this morning, in order to discuss it on the show, is after watching the three films that we did, I kind of noticed the darker underbelly of this movie. And honestly, I think it's because I've sort of been training myself to do it. And even that darker underbelly is not that dark, right? It's lightly tanned, if anything. But there is, like, the fact that, God, we're just going to jump into this one. Spoilers for Rental Family. Where did you watch it? Is it still on Hulu if people are looking to get their hands on this one? Or
it might have been Hulu. I watched it on Disney, but it could have been Hulu through our Disney Hulu stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and Hulu's going away, so who knows what's happening. But I saw that it was on Hulu, but I bought it on digital as soon as I had the opportunity. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have a podcast and we celebrate Brendan Fraser every May. But also, this was the type of movie that we're like, I want to have this one. I want to own a license that makes me feel like I own this movie. Oh, I cannot wait to talk about the other things that have happened in May of 2026. But now we focus on Rental Family. So this is your last chance for spoilers, to know that there are going to be spoilers. If you have the option, like if you're subscribing to Disney Plus or Hulu, watch this movie before you hear us talk about it. It's worth your time. It comes in just under 2 hours. And you know what, Sejan, I have to ask you, not to go on another detour before we talk about this movie, we're not the National Board of Review, are we?
No. I often ask myself that, Devin, but no, I don't think we are.
Because I don't know if you're aware, but they released their list of the top 10 films, which is really 11 films, right? They have their top film of the year and then 10 more, which, unsurprising, One Battle After Another was their number one film of 2025. But then in that top 5, it doesn't just include Sinners, which we could not shut the fuck up about. It doesn't just include Rental Family. It includes the film we saw the same day as Rental Family, Jay Kelly. Like, honestly,
damn.
I didn't realize that on Sunday, November 23rd, we were going to be taking in 2 National Board of Review top 10 films of 2025. But hey,
yeah, man. It's, and to think we can trace it all back to Airheads.
Yes, it's very, which we've done on numerous occasions right here on this show.
Yeah. But no, like, to what you were saying about some of like the darker stuff, I mean, there's definitely an interesting kind of hint at a conversation about the concept of prostitution in this, right?
Yeah.
But even that relationship is delightful and not challenged in any way. And, I guess it's interesting for me to watch a movie that isn't asking me to, like, learn a lesson by the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, this is very easily could have been, maybe that's because it's the kind of movie that it feels like it should have been that, right? Like the Oscar Beatty, like, moral conundrum, but this, for that, like, that's more like a Lost in Translation style story, right? If we're going to be talking about this culture in that way and that sort of thing. This movie is not trying to be that. This movie is it's not even necessarily a huge celebration of Japanese culture. It's not like there's a whole bunch of there's a term for this, and when they're talking about like studying other cultures, when generally your fascination with a culture then in and of itself becomes a little problematic because of how fascinated you are by everything.
It's the observation
and
conundrum, right? Like, by observing it and the way you observe things, you're adding bias to it.
there's a term like the curator's delight or something specifically for it, but this idea that like you become so, basically it's when people become like Anglophiles for like England and shit like that. Like, okay, calm down, right? Like, and this movie doesn't even really go in that direction either. Like, these are just people just living their lives. It just so happens that, I mean, the biggest thing is that therapy is not a culturally accepted choice for these people. So what do they do instead of therapy is essentially what this whole movie is.
Yeah, it is. It's a big part of it. Yeah, the little cultural touches that are here, they treat them as if they're mundane. And part of that comes from the fact that it is being made by a Japanese filmmaker, right? This is a co-production between the United States and Japan. But was
it U.S. or Canada? I thought it was Canada.
Oh, it might be Canada. I think it premiered because
I thought it was the
Canada.
Toronto.
Yeah,
right. But I think that it's because it premiered at TIFF, right?
Yeah, it's a co-production between the United States and Japan, but then it premiered at TIFF. Yeah, so I understand that.
Okay.
And there's that moment where like, after you get married, you'll be moving to Canada. Like, I understand it. And I mean, Canada's second greatest treasure, Brendan Fraser's in the film. So obviously, and I don't think we need to talk about what the first greatest treasure is. I think we all know. And it ain't Celine Dion. I'm just going to say it. Also, I didn't have another punchline here, so I'm now scrambling to get out of the joke. Siegen, why don't you say something?
Rick Moranis, Ryan Reynolds. I mean, we really could have gone.
Dave Foley.
We really wanted to get
right?
controversial. We could have said Drake.
I think just Degrassi in general. I think Dave Foley is where I wanted to go, but I didn't feel comfortable enough committing to that bit. Apologies to Dave Foley.
Was that CTV Canadian? I don't know. Anyway.
Well, Second City.
There is... Second City, right. Yeah. Chicago. Yeah. There's definitely like a love of Japan and things like that. I mean, the way that it's filmed, right? Like, it's just gorgeously shot.
Yeah.
There's these beautiful shots of the city. There's these beautiful shots of the forest. There's these beautiful shots of the ocean. Like, there's an amazing kind of care taken in terms of capturing the city, but again, it doesn't draw your focus to it, which is I think, again, really interesting, because of these movies, you feel like sometimes they are made to do that, right? To bring your attention to something, to whether it's the culture or an issue or the country itself, and like, it's almost like this movie is trying so hard to show you how normal this actually all is, right? And it works for me.
Yeah, it's that's a really interesting thing to say, because a lot of people have been traveling to Japan in the wake of the pandemic. Like, I know you watch a lot of YouTube, but a lot of these YouTubers, like these gaming YouTubers, are like, we're going to Japan. And Japan's not really super happy about that.
No.
Like, so like a film like this, and I know that it's probably like tertiary sort of mission objective. I don't think it's like front and center, but unlike a lot of films, unlike Lost in Translation, which is a really fair film to compare it to, I'd be surprised if we don't bring up Lost in Translation a few more times in this episode. But compared to Lost in Translation, they try to make Japan look almost mundane in this film.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, compared to how we see Japan all the time, right? Like, I'm thinking about Tokyo Drift, right? Like, I'm thinking about, like, all of these American gaze films that are set in Japan, and they make
or watch any travel episode, right? Any food travel or like hotel travel like show, and whenever they do Japan, it's always crazy. Tokyo's nuts, like.
Exactly. So like watching this, it's like no, it's just a normal city. Like, please understand that you're not gonna come here. It's not a fantasy realm, right? There aren't cat girls running around. Like, yes, that's part of our culture, but we're also just like you. Please don't think.
Yeah.
And it does a lot in a film like this to ground it in reality. Because, I mean, it's been a joke. Like, the other thing about Rental Family is that back when we were in college, one of the first like ideas that we worked on together creatively was a story about somebody who like all of his friends are paid for by his parents so that he's not lonely. Like that was like this feather of an idea that Sejin and I were talking about because we thought it was interesting. So like this is a Brendan Fraser movie that's like sort of exploring that. And the second I see it, I'm like, oh, what an absurd idea. But then if you look into it, like this is something that has existed in Japan since 1991. This is an industry that is almost 40 years old. And that's...
Yeah, you know, it is so in a weird way, it is kind of a mundane part of Japanese life then in that regard, right?
Right.
There's also a lot of credit due to Brendan Fraser, and because the character that he's playing in this of Philip, who is somebody who has been in Japan for such a long time, 7 years, I think, right? Isn't that the time that so like he's been there now for almost a decade, and like he is clearly gotten very, you know, he has his routines. Like there's clearly certain things that he does, and you know, going to certain bars, on certain trains and things like that. So it's like I'm not, you know, I don't know if he necessarily goes out and like explores the country that much, but in a weird way, it is like, you know, people in New York rarely go and see the Empire State Building, right? They never go to the Statue of Liberty because that's just part of the landscape to them, right? And he is so comfortable as an actor within this space that like you buy that this is just, you know, the neighborhood he lives in. You know, even the moments when he's feeling weird about being kind of isolated and cut off, there's obviously part of that because he is the American, right? They make the joke about like sad American, like what character am I supposed to play, you know, and things like that. So there's definitely nods to that, but I don't necessarily think that his Americanism is like the thing really holding him back, you know, which again, I think other movies of this ilk would really lean into.
Yeah, it's more the fact that if Lost in Translation, I hate bringing it up. I'm not even a really big fan of that movie, but like...
No, I'm not, this is not me and saying, go watch Lost in Translation.
No.
I think that movie has a lot of problems.
Yeah, I agree. But imagine if he did that whiskey ad and then decided to stay in Japan and never got any more work. Like, that's sort of like... And that's something that I think you and we could definitely speak to that as people who have been in the theater world. Not necessarily that like we haven't ever gotten more work, but we know those actors. We're familiar with those people who got that big break, and then that big break is like unfortunately where they peaked. Like is that
because that's like 90% of people in the industry.
Yeah.
You know, they did that one big project that really got the ball rolling for them to really get their foot in the door. And then after that, they kind of just hung out in the living room. like they just didn't go much further into the house. And so there's this idea that like he does stick out and things like that, and he does have his own way of doing things. I mean, the whole scene with him, there's a moment where he has playing a father and has to talk to the school about, you know, will you accept my child into your private school? And he has a much warmer approach than the mom who hired him does. You know, and I do think that is supposed to be something that they're not into culturally, is that like just as this goofy ass American boy from the Midwest, right? But they also make it a point to let you know that as much as he is kind of sticking out like a sore thumb here, it wasn't any different when he was back in the States. They talk about the fact that his dad was gone pretty early in his life, that his mom was the only person that really truly understood him, right? I mean, you first of all, you don't become an actor, and then you don't become an actor who then leaves for Japan to do a toothpaste commercial without you being a certain type of person.
Yup.
And there is a loneliness to that concept that I don't think that what neurotypical people are usually going to be the ones to follow that. But anyway, like I'm not going to sit here and like armchair diagnose him, but he clearly definitely has has felt isolated as a human being for much longer than just him being in Japan, which is baked into the story. So it's really it's just, again, just this really nice gentle touch of, yes, he feels like he sticks out, but like it's not just because he's American. And then we learn it's, what we really learn is the reason he feels like he sticks out so much is that he's just so warm in a world, not just a country, in a world that's not very warm.
Yeah. His warmth is his superpower, and nobody seems to care about that. Like, this connection, the one that I think, so I don't know, when's the last time you saw a trailer for Rental Family is going to be a question that I ask at this time.
Jeez, I don't even know if I even did to begin with. I could not tell you. At least a year at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It would have to be.
So we did rewatch the trailer after watching the film because my mother did not realize the name of the company he worked for is named Rental Family until like the very end of the film. Like, she thought that it was just called that because he was being rented to be a family member to that little girl. So she's like, can we watch the trailer? Because I'd like to see if there's anything in there that indicated that. And the trailer, first of all, kudos for an excellent trailer. Rental Family, we're not the National Board of Review, but in terms of the Say Report, best trailers of 2025, Rental Family is clearly near the top, if not the number one spot. There is still a bit of a Sejan's Gambit there, because the final scene when he's with the little girl definitely happens in the trailer. But the trailer itself really makes it seem like he has only been hired to be the fake father to Mia, to play Kevin, essentially the role of Kevin. That is the only role that the trailer focuses on. And that is, like, perfect. Because honestly, as much as that's a big part of this movie, for me, and again, consider the fact that I have a degree in theater, know many actors, his story with Kikiro is so much stronger to me in terms of, like, thematics and seeing himself in this guy who might have missed out on his life because he was an actor, and this weird connection. Like, first of all, that is sort of the role of a nightmare, right? Like whatever the opposite of the role of a lifetime is, having to pretend to be someone to make an actor feel like they've not been forgotten feels like it would be the hardest thing to do. Because if that actor's worth their salt, they should see right through you, right? Like, you have to play it with a genuineness and an authenticity that is, like, unheard of.
But I do think that it's an important thing, and this is, again, is a thing that ties Philip to this culture in a way that you buy into the fact that this is something that is just a part of him, right? Is that he is a huge fan of this guy. Yeah. He has, like, knowledge about, like, and being an actor himself is actually very, like, respectful of the guy's craft and stuff. So I don't know how much he necessarily had to act in that particular role, right? Like, I get what you're saying. Like, if on paper, cold hard facts, like having to be that, no, thank you. I don't want to stroke some guy's ego for 6 months and potentially completely fucking it up and haven't realized I've been gaslighting him the entire time. But like, yeah, no, that sounds like a nightmare. But in terms of what Philip has to necessarily do in that role, I don't think it's actually that big of a stretch for him.
Yeah, that's true. Because you're writing an article about, like, his whole cover of being a writer who wants to do this, like, retrospective article on the guy's life and career. It's a good cover because the type of people who would write that article would hopefully have some reverence for the person they're writing about, right? And even if they don't, they've done some research so that they would be able to come across that way. So you're right, they do structure it that way. But I was just thinking about, like, those moments where, like, this is a guy he's supposed to be this great actor, right? Like, he is well known, he's beloved. Now he's older, he hasn't been on the screen in a while. Like, he's acted with people. So if you mess up, like, that's the type of person who would notice, right? Actors spot actors.
Yeah, well, but noticeably though, that's not where the story goes, right?
Yes.
I don't think Hikaru figures out that he's not who he says he is at that point, right?
No, not at all. I think that he completely sells him, but it really speaks to how good an actor Philip actually is. But like,
but that's true.
Yeah, because it's not just the fact that, and unfortunately, like, we also see, like, the reason why first of all, I just love the story. I think that story is really good. The whole jailbreak. I mean, and clearly the filmmakers also felt that this is important because the button on the film is part of that thread, right?
Yes.
With him going to the prayer temple and seeing that you're praying essentially to yourself, right? The whole 8 million gods theory, and that God is in everything. And, and that works for me, right? Since my basic belief system is that I should believe in myself, right? Because if I believe in myself, all things are possible. Saccharin, whatever, blah, 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 right? We'll be saccharin at the Say Report, too, this month.
The Church of St. Frizzle. All right.
But yeah, like, but when he's talking with, when they go out to the restaurant, and he asks him if he has any children, and Philip says, yes, I have a daughter. He's not talking about an actual daughter. He is referring to Mia. And that ability that he has to blend all of his backstories together, but still keep them straight, like, that's good acting. And I know that it's scripted, but, like, in terms of the world, like, there's that little bit of me where I'm like, oh my God, he's crossing worlds right there. Like, that could go bad. That could go potentially bad doing that, but it doesn't. And it speaks to how good he is as an actor. And I also think he's aware of his ability, because the second job we see him do, I've already alluded to it, is playing the groom to a young woman who who loves her family but does not want to abandon them based upon, like, Japanese culture. So she's going to have this fictional wedding, and then she's going to leave with her husband. They're going to leave the country. And then we find out later that the reason that she's doing this whole thing is because she's gay. She's a homosexual. And culturally, she cannot be with the woman that she loves. So by doing this whole fake wedding, they're free to leave Japan and be together, where culturally it would be more accepted. Like, it is, like, there are layers to that whole thing. But I think on some point, because as his second job, he gets nervous, right? They go to get him from his dressing room, which is actually a dressing room, right? Because he's getting prepared to get married, right? Just the fun duality there. And he's run off to, like, a basement bathroom at the venue. And, I don't remember her name. I know the actor's name, but I can't think of her character name. And I want to make sure I say it. Eiko, played by Mari Yamamoto, the only female who we see, like, working administratively at Rental Family. She finds him in that bathroom, and she gives him a real, like, talking to. And his whole thing about, like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I'm lying to people. This could affect their lives. So, like, I also feel like, and this is given a lot of credit, but also I've dealt with a lot of, like, big personalities in my theatrical time. I think on some level he's afraid he's going to be too good at the role and somehow fuck it up on that side as well.
No, I think part of it is that he is worried about kind of this is a super important moment in the movie, and I think it's a really well-structured moment because it basically allows the rest of the movie to happen. Yeah. He's worried about the ethics of what he's doing, which is a immediate question that you have to have when you think about this kind of thing, right? Like when you hear the log line for this movie, right? Like there's a weirdness to it. This is like Talented Mr. Ripley levels. This could go real bad, right? So what this moment does is it shows and justifies everything that then Philip then does for the rest of the movie, right? Playing this little girl's dad, that could be perceived really in a terrible way. And in fact, there's maybe something to be said about that, but also, as Devin pointed out, it's talking about a thing that actually happens in the culture. So like, it's a little hard to talk about the ethics of it because we're kind of just applying our own shit to it and all that. But like, if you bring it back to that moment where he learns, like, no, this is helping them. You're not lying to them. You're helping them. And it's an important distinction to make so that the rest of the movie is okay,
Yeah. It's a specialized performance. I really like that, like, framing device of what they're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, because ethically it's that. And then the only weird thing that I think about with the little girl is that we see that moment where the head of rental family, Shinji Tada, is on the phone talking about their rates. That like, for like a 7-year-old woman, it'll be like 7,000 yen per hour. For a 13-year-old, it'll be this much per hour for the first 2 hours. But also because that individual is a minor, there has to be like oversight. Like there needs to be a chaperone there. And it's like, so then I'm thinking about that when he meets up with this. I mean, God, how old is Maya? Like, probably like 10 years old, like at the oldest.
If that,
like,
I was gonna say 7 or 8, but yeah.
Yeah. So she's young, but the fact that he is allowed to just like be alone with her, like the first one is clearly supervised because her mother is there to introduce him as this girl's absentee father. And that whole sequence. But then like when they go to the Monster Cat Festival, which is literally what it's called, that's not just me. Like I want to make sure I sometimes throw out some phrases, but they refer to it as the Monster Cat Festival.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Yeah.
And it's just them alone, like that the mom isn't there, or that like he's allowed to go to visitation day at her school. Like those moments, there was that little thing in the back of my mind, like, okay, so the people who work for us who are minors, they have to have supervision, but we don't have any supervision for this guy. And I hate to say it, it's probably because of what we know about Hollywood. That could break real bad real fast.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of there's a lot of moments where this movie, again, if you just kind of hear it, this movie has a very weird sense to it, right? But none of this comes across as you're watching it. It is fascinating.
Yeah, like I said, like you mentioned the prostitution thing, and what I grasped this time, and granted, it's because my mind has kind of been rewritten a little bit as to how I'm looking at Brendan Fraser films after the first 3 that we celebrated this year. That moment when he's with Natsumi and she's like, oh, you and I sort of do the same thing. I satisfy people physically, but you're satisfying them emotionally. Like, I had never realized that, like, yeah, in some ways he is prostituting himself by doing this. He's just not selling his body. He's selling the feeling, the emotion. And, like, that is a great moment that is not given too much time to feel like gross or dirty. Like they bring it up so that like your mind can kind of contextualize it in that way, and he can kind of contextualize it in that way, but then overall he is unable to keep the lines from blurring in this whole thing. And that's the other thing, is like we're not introduced to him as somebody who's been like working at Rental Family for a while. He's clearly a new employee. And like, these are the things that he brings up as potential issues. He's like, what if like the boss being like, are you getting attached to these people? And he's like, no, I don't think I'm getting attached. And we clearly know that he is, right? We've just seen those moments where like, no, you are, but you're not going to tell your boss that, right? Because that kind of feels like immediate grounds for termination in this particular line of work. But it's I don't know. I find this film so delightful. like overall, despite the fact that the whole time in the back of my mind, but being like shushed and quieted down by like my better angels, are these thoughts about like, so like Japan's a big place, but the chances of people running into him again after doing this job, like, and I really like that the film never does that. But imagine if he ran into the father of that bride, because they had like a very emotional moment. Like it's one of those things where like a lesser film probably would have done that, because he's like, you know, thank you, father, and then he hugs him, and the guy gets so happy, like about the fact that he has a son-in-law, and it's like that's like a moment for that father that he will always cherish. And what if like you just happen to be on the same train as him? You're supposed to be in Canada with his daughter.
Yeah, no, you know, in a lot of ways, though, I think there's this idea that I don't know if clearly in that moment there's something to be said about the father thinking that he is who he says he is. I don't want to like diminish that moment specifically, but I do wonder how much kind of writ large there is kind of this almost understanding that this is what's happening, right? Because I think about like the guy that he ends up having a lot of time with playing video games, right? Mm-hmm. And then they end up going to see that show together and later, and like clearly this is somebody that he is, you know, spending time with because of the job and all of that. But I don't imagine that guy has any, like, I don't think he thinks that he's like his brother or some shit, right? Like he thinks he's like, he knows who he is, right? He doesn't have some made up version of him in his head. So there's even some of these moments where he's playing kind of just himself.
Yeah, that's very true. Like the first role, right? The very first role he plays of sad American. First of all, that's my only complaint about this movie. It was my complaint the first time I saw it. It was my complaint this last time that I watched it. And that is the fact that he shows up late. He's hired for a funeral. And it's like sort of like an Empire Records style funeral where like the person wants to see how they'll be remembered.
Right. It is revealed that the person at the funeral is actually still alive. They are just they are throwing themselves a funeral. Yeah.
So that whole thing. And he shows up late to it, playing the role of sad American, and the owner of the agency is like, I'm going to have to dock your pay for arriving late and disrupting the service. But I will die on this hill. I want everyone to understand this is a hill I am willing to die on. That is what sad American would do. Sad American would show up late to the funeral and weirdly cause a distraction by showing up. So I feel like he played the role even better. I mean, granted, he does get a job with the agency based on that performance. So I also think that Tada feels the same way. Like you brought something to this character that not even I realized it needed. Was that like weird, that weird part of like centering it on yourself. But like that comment about I'm going to have to dock your pay for getting here late. I'm like, no, that was right. That is how it would have happened. Like it's so, it is just how I feel so truly, madly, deeply about that one part of the film. But yeah, so what I don't remember why I brought this up, Sage, and I'm sorry.
No. We were talking about
that he's playing himself,
which people know. Yeah. Right? Yeah, people know that he is not who he is saying that he is, but because of the necessity of it, they openly just accept it, right? You know, there's even moments where, and we know that this is not really what happens because of the storyline with Mia, but there's even moments where you wonder with Mia if she kind of knows what's going on, right?
Yeah, she asks some questions that are really like, are you really my dad, and things like that. Or when she, the best one, the one where like, is that visitation day where she goes over to her friend whose parents aren't there and invites him over and says, will you be his dad too today? Like that feels like a wink and a nod at the camera that she might be like part of this. or at least have some inclination to it, because she's written very intelligently, like almost to her detriment. Because like they talk about how like she has a little bit of a rebellious streak and that she's like fiercely independent, and because it's culturally, these are not good things. These are things that like the private school are like, oh, your daughter's a little independent, huh? Like, oof, we don't really like independent children at our private school. Like, oh yeah, right? Cultural differences.
Children should be seen, not heard.
Yes. Thank you. Was that the Trunchbull that you just did?
I don't know. There's a lot of different references.
There are a lot of ones. It felt like
I was thinking Arrested Development.
Fair. You know what?
You can always tell.
I never realized there's always money in the banana stand, but I never realized how much Jessica Walters in Arrested Development and the Trunchbull were like from the same DNA, CJ.
I mean, she. I think that if you classified her as a Roald Dahl villain, I think it works.
Yeah, it totally works. Man, maybe I should watch Arrested Development under the guise of it being a Roald Dahl story. That
Get
might
Wes Anderson to do it with puppets.
Oh, jeez, that'd be incredible. Why? Oh, I don't even know. But yeah, so there are a lot of those roles where he's just playing himself. Like that guy, the video game guy, he's just there to be that dude's friend. And that guy is clearly paying to have a friend. And he's nervous about it. That is, for being like a sort of like, God, it's like the J plot of this film, his relationship with that guy. So much is shown in that storyline. Like the fact that this person knows that he is coming over, right? Like you'd have to imagine this is the person who's hired this because of just the way that they interact with each other. It doesn't feel like somebody hired him to like go spend time with this guy. It feels like this guy is taking advantage of the service. But every time he goes to his door, that guy is like untrustworthy and like unprepared to interact with another human being. And I actually really like that because it tells me a lot about that character and just like his mental state. And then when you watch how Philip breaks him down and takes him out of himself, like it's kind of nice for what is essentially
but again,
like a montage
all just
story.
Kind of done in like exactly, just kind of like interstitial scenes of him doing this, and like there's just a delightful little story there of the two of them and how they better each other and stuff. It's just very well made. Like it's just another moment of this movie just being just extremely well made. I just think the big thing is that this movie didn't make that big of a splash. You know, it didn't do poorly. You know, people who saw it very much enjoyed it. Just not many people saw it. And I really think that this movie suffered in a landscape of films that want more, you know. And it's not that I think this movie should have done more. I think this movie did exactly what it needed to do. I just think that in terms of if you want your movie to be the one that gets talked about for Oscar buzz, if you want your movie to be the one that people are asking each other to go see with them and stuff, like you need their audiences just want more conflict, more challenge, more, you know what I mean? Like this movie's just not giving people that satisfaction in that regard, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. You know, it's been something I've really been struggling with since we saw it the first time, and then watching it again is like, this is just a good movie. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's well made. It's well acted. Like the concepts on display are amazing. You know, the little stuff from Fraser is beautiful. The ways in which he knows when to put shoes on and off, right? And the ways in which he walks around and things like that, or the moments when he just suddenly just says like thank you in Japanese to somebody just off to the side. Like it's not even a thought for him to like go into that. That's just how he is in this world, is like so important in showing you how comfortable he is where he is and all that. But it's blink and you miss it stuff, you know. And we know, like we have talked many times about how people kind of miss the forest, for the trees sometimes with this kind of shit, is like they get so caught up on one or two details of a movie or one or two concepts in a movie that they're not seeing all of the other work that's going on. And this movie really wants you to just look at all the other work.
Yeah. I mean, even I couldn't even tell you his name, and he is not billed high enough for the work that he does. But the third employee at Rental Family, that guy he's killing it. He is slaying that role. That moment when he realizes that he's Mr. Clean Paste, or I don't the toothpaste guy.
Yeah, whatever the toothpaste guy. Yeah, the toothpaste superhero. Yeah.
Yeah, like that moment where he realizes, oh, like I know that I knew you. Coda is his name. It's Kamara Boone who is playing the role. It's so good. Like the fact that he's there, and then some of the other stuff that he gets to do in the film it's there, but it's the type of stuff where like that's not going to get like any award buzz or anything, because he's showing up and he's just doing what needs to be done.
But that moment though, after he kidnaps the old man, after Philip kidnaps the old man, and they're trying to figure out if they can get the daughter to drop the charges, right? And the two of them show up as cops, or no, the two of them show up as insurance adjusters, right? Yeah, or lawyers. That's what it is. Yeah, so they show up to basically like talk about the legal side of it to see if they can figure out a way to get the guy to drop everything. But then they think a cop is there, but then it turns out to just be a keto or something. Like, it's crazy. That moment is so fun and so well acted, and everybody in that moment is just fucking funny. They're just so
good. It's Tada. It's the owner of Rental Family who shows up as the detective.
That's who it is. Yeah, it's Tada who shows up as the cop, right?
It's really good. Like that whole thing, and him, like he just has this little smile on him. Coda just has that little smile on him, like, good, I'm glad he did the right thing, right? Like, we've joked about angels in these movies. If anybody's an angel in this film, it's Coda. Like, I want to make sure I have brought you two together to heal the issues that are going on in your life, right? What you're doing is good, but, I don't know. It's really good. But you're right. Like because one of the things that we talked about was this feels like sort of an anti-awards movie, that like a lot of the points it's going on, or the reason that it leans into some of those things, is because of the fact that like if this movie were trying to get awards, this is a movie. If a movie's trying to get awards, this is the type of shit that they do. And this film does those things, but it does not put any of the weight on it. It's just like, oh yeah, and then this thing happened. And we all know that's a thing that happens in life. So we don't need to like make a meal out of it. It really, this is such an interesting film. And I mean, again, we're focusing on Brendan Fraser right now. It's going to be part of next week, because I've been seeing a lot of movies this May. And that exact thing that you're talking about, I think, is what's actually killing, like, the cinema industry. The
need for, like, everything to be big and bombastic?
Yeah, the fact that all we care about is the money that a film generates is terrible for the entire industry as a whole, right? I saw a film... and I'll save this and we'll talk about it more, but it was an MGM film, and you know that Ars Gratis artists, right?
Yeah.
Art for art's sake, which was their logo. Like I almost like lost it. Like I'm sitting in a theater, that comes up, and I'm just like, that is a beautiful idea that they lost the thread of in Hollywood years ago.
Well, right, it's like, it's a pretty hollow fucking thing to see on an MGM logo these days, considering MGM is like,
owned by
two
Amazon?
companies deep now. Right, yeah. So like, it's like, yep, all right, sure.
Yeah, like, no, but...
They might as well just have the lion go, wink.
I bet if they could get that lion to wink, he'd wink. Jeez, I can't. Oh yeah, but it's just strange, because like this feels like it was a movie that was made because this is something that I think I want to explore. I want to talk about. I want to share this part of Japanese culture, maybe with people who don't fully understand it or know that, like, it is such a high concept single sentence elevator pitch that it's unbelievable to me that this is an industry that has existed since 1991. Like that's like almost absurd. 35 years they've been doing this in Japan. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels like something that two like idiot theater kids come up with as like a good idea for a comedy. Where the two idiots.
Well, like the pitch does.
Yeah,
yes,
the pitch
but
does.
Like then you
and
watch
then
the movie
you watch
and
the movie
it's a
and
whole other
it's,
animal. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the pitch of this movie would be like, that'd be something I'd be interested in doing as a job. I'll admit that. I hear the pitch of this movie, like, yeah, I could, like, people could rent me out to be, like, their dad or their friend or their brother. Sign me up for that. And then I see the movie, and I'm like, you know what, I said it beforehand, but honestly, if it broke as well as it broke for Brendan Fraser in this film, yeah, I could see myself doing this. Because it doesn't have some weird message at the end about how this is just lying to people, how this is displacing emotions so that they don't need to be dealt with. Like, it really says this is a viable way for people to get what they need in this world.
There is the idea that he does come clean with Mia at the end, right?
Yes.
You can't ignore that the one conflict in this movie that really bubbles up is that she finds out that he's not who he
really
says
her
he
father.
is.
Yeah.
And it is and kind of in the way that you were talking about, she figures it out because she's watching TV one day and a commercial with him in it comes on where he's or an old movie or something where he plays like a pirate.
I think it's still a commercial.
So, like,
I think that,
you think it's a commercial? Yeah,
I do think it's a commercial.
Yeah.
It's just one of those like crazy like, I'll never let you take me land, and then it's like, call the general for homeowners insurance.
Sure. Yeah. But you know, so she figures it out, and so it kind of breaks her heart a bit. But noticeably, they are able to talk about it, and the final moments between the two of them are them still like, you know, basically deciding that they're going to continue this friendship between the two of them. But you know, she wants to know about him as a real person now, you know, and it's like this beautiful thing about like he actually does connect with her, and to the point where she actually wants to connect back, which is the thing that he has been missing this whole time, right? And it's this great moment to lean into, like, we all know this is what we want, right? What these people are doing in this movie should not be like villainized, because like they're giving people the closest to this that they can get, right? And it's whether you agree with that or not. But I think if this movie had any message, it's exactly that, is that, look, this is a weird thing that goes on in this culture, but it goes on in this culture for these reasons, and this is the way that people navigate around that sort of shit. And like, hey, chill out, because you have a lot of weird shit you do in your culture too. Is like, and then beyond that, it's like, we all know like what a healthy relationship should be. And like, I think it's important that everybody that works at this place would rather see people in healthy relationships. I mean, it's what's her name's whole story about being the mistress, always
services.
playing the mistress, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Being the apology service, and about how she finally gets to the point where she realizes what she really wants to be doing is to be setting these families straight, you know, and like, and it's more important to her in the end that like people are being honest with each other and honest with themselves about like their shame and their anger and all of that. It's a really, really, really interesting like way to, again, look at this culture, look at this thing, and not make a huge deal out of that, but rather just the people behind it. And that's what makes the movie work so well.
Yeah, because what she does, like, first of all, the best part about this movie is that moment at the end where we no longer offer the apology services. Because apparently that was their big seller, was dudes who cheated on their wives hiring a fictional like person to represent the mistress, and then the mistress apologizing to the wife for like making the husband stray. Real Darkly Noon vibes and energy there. That we're not putting any accountability on the man, but all the accountability goes on the temptress witch who like made them stray from the path. Like that one where she finally quits, where she's like, I'm done with this. The fact that he like, she came on to me, I would have never approached her, is like, yeah, you were hit on by an attractive woman. That doesn't give you carte blanche to sleep with her if you're married. Again, and that's an old, outdated way of thinking. Some ideas about that have changed. But to put the blame on the woman who approached you, like, that's the fucking leaps that you're trying to make there.
Yeah.
Right? I have no accountability.
No, and then she turns around and she just turns around and sells that guy out. And it's a beautiful moment because she finally stands up both for herself and in a way for these two other women in this situation, both the woman in front of her and the woman that she is pretending to be, right? Like there's three women in this moment that are all kind of being either lied to, used, or manipulated in some way. And this guy is getting away with it and she can't take it anymore. And so she puts a stop to it. And then, like you said, we get this beautiful moment at the end where they talk about like, yeah, we don't do that anymore. Like, that's just something we've decided is not right. And like, yeah, cool. So, and I think that comes from, we're supposed to believe that is the way in which Philip has kind of affected this company. Right.
Oh, without a doubt, because she sees through Philip how he is able to have a positive influence on the clients that he's working with lives. And like, she wants that too. She wants to be doing that for these people who like have nowhere else to turn. She doesn't want to.
In terms of story structure, it's the flip. It's a really fun technique in writing. Like the movie starts with her trying to sell this idea to him, like, no, what we're doing here is a good thing because you're actually helping these people. But by the end of this movie, like Philip has to kind of remind her of that by being like, look, the reason you're here is not to get hit and to help these men get away with cheating on their wives. We are here to help these people, right? And how does the apology service work in that regard? And so it's a script flipped. It's fun. It's a good and again, like easy, tropey, but at the same time, like really nails a good like story arc and character development. Like there's a reason why these things are used a lot.
Yeah, tropes exist for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just that there are only 7 stories and we're just hearing variations on it. There are also narrative techniques that we connect with, and that's because they're interesting, right? The fact that she sells him on how, like, if you are not able to pretend to be the groom today, that girl's life ends, right? If you can't do this, her life is affected, and she's the person that we're here to help. And that hits him so hard that's why he commits to every other role that he gets. And like when he's with Kikuro and he's like, I'm planning our jailbreak so you can take me to my hometown, and he has to say, I can't do that. Your daughter doesn't want me to do that. Like, you see how pained he is that he cannot do for this guy what he clearly needs. Like, right. it's real. And like, before we drift too far from the whole Mia storyline, I really, really like that this film allows her to get mad at her mother. That she doesn't just put all the blame on Philip, that girl is emotionally intelligent enough to know that her mother has to shoulder some of that blame for bringing this guy into her life under the guise of a lie. But and the moment that they come back together is very simple, but very poignant. I mean, the mom finally, what it is that moment when Mia comes back to her mom, is her mom finally treats Mia like the intelligent person that she actually is, rather than just a
Japanese child that needs to get into this school because of that. Like, she suddenly is like, oh, right, you're a human being with thoughts and emotions, and I played with those, and I fucked up. And like, and then Mia coming to her and finally saying, like, I forgive you and I love you, and her then still saying, I'm so sorry for everything I did. You know what I mean? She doesn't immediately take that as like a get out of jail free card. Like, she shows actual like respect to her daughter in a moment that is just heartwarming to watch.
Which again, talk about just visual storytelling. In the whole the interview to get Mia into the private school, where it's like, you're just gonna be quiet, short, reserved answers. But, you know, Philip, he's not able to do that. He cares about this kid and he wants her to get into the school. So he's like, she's also a great artist. Let me show you some of the art that she did. And then the whole telling the story about Visitation Day, Mia's mom in those moments, like, she sees that this guy, like, he actually got to know her daughter. So, like, that moment where she calls him, like, where she's like, I don't think I want to go to the private school. And he's like, no, you got this. You're so strong. You have it. And then she's like, when did you start talking to your father on the phone? And that, like, being a big moment. But then Mia's response is like, Dad listens to me. You only tell me what to do. And that's like, that hits hard, because it is like, it's not just because, like, he's the absentee father or he's not like the fun parent. It is legitimately like that. We see her try to communicate with her mother so many times only to be stonewalled, because all that matters is getting into that private school. That is the mother's mission for her daughter. So, it is. And I also like that she is mad at Philip, because when they do come together at the end, she's like, you know, you said you would never hurt me, and you did. I'm mad at you. And like, yeah, right? I'm glad that this is a character who is written to understand that multiple parties in this have responsibility to carry, and she can be angry about that. Like, you don't see characters that are that fully written and rounded. That, like, the majority of characters that we see in motion pictures these days are fairly shallow and fairly one-dimensional, because that's what sells, right? We're currently going through something where everybody feels like movies are just recaps every 5 minutes of what's going on. And like, to the fact that, like, people don't just feel that way. The people making entertainment have confirmed, oh yeah, we feel like we have to appeal to audiences who aren't watching with their full attention.
Right.
And that's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, this is a movie that just eschews all of that, right? And I think that that's part of what puts it in the same wheelhouse as every other movie we've watched this year, is these are all movies that were not afraid to be themselves, to be the movies that they were trying to be, sometimes to their detriment. But like, Darkly Noon was exactly the movie that it set out to be, right? I think that the people that put that movie on screen would say that that was the movie they wanted to put on screen, right? And I think the same could be said about Twilight of the Golds, right? The way that we talked a little bit about Winterborn and how it feels like it maybe was trying something that didn't quite work. I think that that's just more kind of that the concept was way too out there. But at the end of the day, I don't think anybody that works on that movie is sad that they gave it a try. You know what I mean? And then this movie is just like, I hope these people realize how good they did with this film. Like, this is going to always be a shining spot on their IMDb page for me. You know, the fact that, like, if I ever come across somebody and find out that they were in this movie, it's going to mean something, you know, and that's awesome. That you don't get to make many projects like that, you know?
First of all, you don't get to make projects like that in 2025. Like this movie feels like it's from another era. And I mean that in the best way possible, right? Weirdly, Rental Family fits in so well with the other 3 films that we looked at this month, because it is so squarely in the 90s mentality of making films. And it's what I miss.
Yeah, man.
I miss films like that. Like, you don't see that type of stuff. You really don't. So, like, that's why it fits in. But also, like, sure, this might not have blown things up. It got 22 nominations and 11 wins for awards. And I know that you're not looking for awards, right? Like, that shouldn't be the goal. But it's a nice acknowledgement, right?
How many of those are from outside of the United States? I'm
Almost
curious.
all of them.
That is unfortunately it, right? Like, is like, I say that this movie didn't get talked a lot about. I should be more clear. In the United States, this movie was well received by the people that saw it, but like I said, not one that really lit up the boards, as it were.
Yeah, it's like it won a lot of film festival nods and things. You know, and that's what it is. But it still got it. Like, and it is. You're right. Like, if I were to ever, like, if I met Hikari, I would shake her hand in a second for this movie. This movie is so good. It really is just an enjoyable little piece. And the fact that, like, like, I don't want to break the kayfabe, like, for a second, but, like, I like, Brendan Fraser is the thing, like, we just decided on, right? Like, we've told the story of how we got to Brendan Fraser for Brendan Fraser History Month. We've been telling it for 11 years, Sejan, right? It's just because your former podcast, like, partner was not a fan of Brendan Fraser, and I wanted to mess with him a little bit.
And we had a moment where I confessed my adoration, and he said that he didn't understand it, and then Devin decided that he was gonna twist the knife a bit, and like, that's how this whole thing gets started. But it comes from this legitimate kind of place, right, where, like, I have always really enjoyed him, and I know that other people have as well. It's kind of the reason that me and him were having that conversation.
Right.
Is he's like, I personally have never understood this actor. Like, I don't get why people are so into him. But that in and of itself acknowledges that means that there is a certain amount of people that are into him, right? Like, there's this idea that, like, he has always had a real, he's always had an audience. Yeah. It's not always been a big audience. It's not always been the most faithful audience, because there's definitely been plenty of his stuff that has come out and people have kind of forgotten to, like, check out. And then years later they see it and they're like, oh shit, that's so good. I always forget how much I love Brendan Fraser. It was a common, like, that was like a very common sentiment amongst at least my peers, right? Like, was that this idea that, like, yeah, I like him, I just don't think about him all the time. I don't know if I could say that so much anymore, ever since the Oscar win, you know, which that's exactly why you go out and try and get Oscars, right? Is so that you get that recognition going forward. But, like, that mentality is also kind of all over this movie, which I kind of adore.
Yeah. But, like, and it's like, so the fact that this guy who, like, it did kind of start as a joke with, like, more than a nugget of truth behind it. And then because of that, we get to see something like this. Like, we get exposed to a film like this. We get exposed to something like Darkly Noon or Winterborn or even Twilight of the Golds. Like, it wasn't great, but I gotta tell you, that it was hard to shake, like, Twilight of the Golds from me. Like, even a week later, I was still thinking about stuff that I saw in that movie and just...
Yeah, I think we pretty much fell on, we didn't necessarily want to recommend it to other people, but like, to be clear, I'm glad I saw it.
Oh yeah, fully. And again, it's out there if you got Howdy, right? That was fun. Like I a brief thing, but it's related to Brendan Fraser History Month. Like, I was at my friend's new house. They just got a new place, and they have a Roku TV. So the big prominent thing on their Roku TV is to try Howdy. Like, try Howdy. It's just like Roku, but Howdy. And I'm like, oh, you guys, we could do Howdy. There's a bunch of Brendan Fraser movies that we could watch on there. And I mentioned those too, and they're like, how about we watch the movie that you're going to cover next week? I'm like, oh, Rental Family? Yeah, no, we should definitely watch that instead of the two other ones. Instead of the one where, yeah, we totally fridge a pregnant lady in the first 5 minutes of this movie. And,
oh my God.
Like a film
it's a comedy, by the way.
Oh, it's a comedy. It's a comedy directed by the guy who directed Milk Money and Mermaids, right? Oh jeez. But yeah, like, I'm glad that, like, Brendan Fraser. Like, we got to see him in this, and we got to see him in The Whale, and even though it's small, Flower Moon, like, he is, God, and even things like Brothers last year, right? And weirdly, right, our penultimate film to celebrate Brendan Fraser History Month in 2025 was Bedazzled. This film also kind of harkens back to that in the terms of all the different roles that he's playing between the two of them. Like, the guy, I mean, but you say that, like, I mean, so I saw School Ties. My mother always said, I'm sorry I stole your childhood because of School Ties. Right? I've told that story here, and I 100% disagree with her, but that's how she, like, said it to me once. Like, I think I was maybe like 11 years old. Because we saw School Ties, and then we went to the diner from School Ties because it was in the town that, like near where we lived. And that one, like, no, you don't need to do it. But let me tell you, Encino Man, the first time I saw Encino Man, I didn't know Brendan Fraser was in it. I was there for Pauly Shore, right? When I watched Airheads, I watched Airheads because it was on, right? I wasn't there for any of the people, but all of the people, freaking, I found a place in my heart for. Like, and that's all that this truly is that. And to watch that guy, right? That started in School Ties for me, right? That's the first film I saw for Brendan Fraser. God, I was 6 years old when I saw that movie. I guess I kind of understand where Mom was coming from. Like, did I steal your childhood? Like, I guess like now that I look at it objectively from like above, you know, I mean, like 6 years old seeing that movie, yeah, that might do something. Maybe that explains a bit of my rebellious streak. Like to hear like it, I don't know. It just it makes me happy. It makes me happy. This movie makes me happy that this film exists, and the fact that somebody who like has just been a part of the cinematic landscape as long as I've been like mentally aware of what it means to like for movies to exist. It's cool. It's just a really nice like conflagration of those two things. And then the fact that you and I got to see it in a theater, right? Like, yes, it opened wide on November 21st, but that doesn't mean that it was showing in every theater, right? Like, I have the Box Office Mojo open. How many theaters screens do you think it opened on that day?
Maybe about 1,000.
1,925.
2,000. Hey,
Yeah,
that's
so
twice as much as I
2,000,
thought, but that's not. Yeah, I mean,
like,
but for reference, what was like the number one movie that weekend, and how many screens was it on?
Let's look at that. Wicked for Good was the number one film, and that released in 4,115.
So yeah, more than twice as many.
Yep.
Damn.
And I think that's because it opened at 5th place. Like, let's talk about Rental Family. It was the 5th biggest film domestically the week that it came out, and that's only with $3.3 million. And I say only 3.3 million because Wicked, the film that opened the same day as it, opened with $147 million. But that right there, right? We're going to put a pin in it until next week because it's a big thing that I have been doing all May, right? The fact that the number one movie made $147 million and the number two movie made $8.9 million, that's a huge disparity.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That the next 4 highest ranking films made, trying to do the math real quick here, 13, 19, $24 million.
Compared to the 120.
Compared to the $147 million that the number one made. Like, that's insane. I also need to look. So the number two movie was Now You See Me, Now You Don't. I'd like to know what that opened with. Give me a quick second. That in its opening was only $8.3 million when it was number one at the box office a week before Wicked for Good came out.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
No, I mean, there's people are being really picky about what they go and see. You know, like there's definitely something to be said about audiences not going to as many movies as they used to. But there was also something really fun in the 90s about, like, there was more than one movie out that you wanted to go and see every weekend. And movies were out for longer. So, like, you had the chance to go and see something maybe, 3 or 4 weeks later. That chance is just gone now. If you don't see a movie in the first 2 weekends, there's a good chance it's getting pulled out of whatever theater you want to go see it at. And there's just, there isn't any, because we've been making so much more high-end expensive films, there's nothing to cover the gap in between, like, where is my good, like $50 $50 million, office comedy or some shit, right? Like where is, I miss movies like The Internship, right? or what was the other one that we saw that was about the guys that go to Germany in...
the singing one, the choral movie, or no, Unfinished Business. You're talking
Unfinished Business, right?
A couple of Vince Vaughn films. Yeah, where have all the Vince Vaughns gone? Is what I would like to know. I guess he kind of fell out of favor in Hollywood, right? Like, he had some sort of scandal that might have messed that up for him. But yeah, The Internship, Unfinished Business,
I
Delivery Man.
Kind of.
Sorry,
he's had pictures taken in, like, Trump's office with him and stuff like that. So it seems like he seems pretty down with.
Oh, yeah, well, with some shitty people. Yeah, no, I felt like there was something before that, even before. But you know what? I forget that Trump is. There was a 4-year lull there where he wasn't our president. That, like, the Trump machine has existed for 10 years at this point politically. I'm trying not to retch right now. Because, like, just that realization. So, like, my thought of, like, yeah, because he was on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And that was, like, a whole thing that he was on Curb Your Enthusiasm because of. Like, yeah, no, that was about 10 years ago. I actually think it was, like, 8 years ago. I think it was 2018. So, yeah, there's that. Also, I totally looked at Now You See Me, Now You Don't incorrectly. It made $21 million in its opening weekend. That 8.3 was how much it made on its opening day. The way that I navigated was incorrectly. I just want to apologize for that. In case, Dave Franco is listening. Clearly, we're big friends.
So sorry,
Dave
Mr.
Harrelson. We saw Unfinished Business.
Yeah, please. We were just talking about it. Shit. Geez. Yeah, I just... Like, this movie really filled a niche for me that it has really been missing. But as we could see in the box office numbers, this isn't going to be the kind of movie that studios are going to be willing to keep making. And that's sad.
Right. I mean, and that's, like, I remember you and I, like, celebrating as I drove you to Philadelphia, the fact that it was number 5 in the box office. Like, maybe people are going to see it. Maybe that means something. And then, let's just look at the next week. It was number 7. It was still in the top 10. When do you fall out of the top 10? After 2 weeks, it drops down to 14. And that is exactly what Sejin was talking about. The fact that movies basically have 2 weeks to be profitable anymore. I have not seen The Sheep Detectives yet because it has been impossible to get tickets to see it. And I'm still nervous that if I don't find time to see it this week, I will not get the opportunity to. Like, that is legitimately how I feel. Also, you know what? I know it's not about it, and I'm going to talk about it bigger. Is God Is. If you have the opportunity to go see that film, please go see that film. It is a truly independent film. First-time writer, first-time director. It was excellent. And I just feel like nobody is talking about it. And it is so worth seeing. And it bums me out that, like, I bring it up with people and just get
the one about the
stares.
Sisters in the Fire? Sterling K. Brown's in it, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, this will be a big thing. I'm a little upset that they focus so much on Sterling K. Brown in the marketing after seeing the film. Because, yeah, it's a little bit as if, like, Boba Fett had his mask off in all the marketing for Empire Strikes Back. Or something that makes more sense. If we saw Jaws in the credits for in the trailer for Jaws. But yeah, Is God Is. I mean, we'll talk about it with more as part of what we missed in May. But the fact, like Siegen talking about, films really only have 2 weeks to make any sort of like movement on the dial. Like, show up for that movie. That is my Stay Report request for the class this week. Which I'm not saying don't go see Mandalorian and Grogu, but I am saying also check out Is God Is if you get the opportunity.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it's one of those ones that I am very excited about. I may have to see if I can like buy like a novelization of or something, because there's some stuff, just some visual body horror stuff in that film that is just like hard to watch type cinema for Siegen.
So I can
from everything I've heard, it's phenomenal.
Dude, Mom liked it. Like, it was one of those ones where like, we're taking you to see this movie. Just like I had to like tooth and nail fighting, kicking and screaming to go see Sinners, I took her to go see Is God Is. And it was another, she's like, I'm really happy that you like made me get over myself and see that movie. And I can actually do you one better in terms of novelization, is based on a play. So you could probably get the script without any difficulty right now. Like,
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's good to know.
Yes. So that we interrupt your Brendan Fraser for like that one, because it is one I want to see it succeed. I legitimately want to see that movie succeed. And everybody that I've recommended it to has been happy for the recommendation. Even with some of the body horror stuff that Siegen mentioned. Like, it's just such a good movie. It's different from Rental Family, right? Like, and you know what? And we can draw it right here. And again, we'll talk more about it next week. I do want everybody to know I've been keeping a journal of everything that's happened in May, and it is already very long. And I also have not updated it since the 15th of May. So there's like 10 other days that I still need to add into my journal. So apologies for the lack of brevity in next week's episode of the Say Report. But a film like Is God Is, even though it's an independent film, it speaks to all of the big budget stuff that Hollywood is still trying, like still willing to take chances on. Movies like Rental Family are a dying breed. And thankfully we have the alternative, like straight to streaming, right? At least there is sort of a place for them to play, but that place is also drying up, right? The streaming services don't want to do small little films like this, small personal comedy drama films. Like, they want to do the big stuff that's going to make them money, that's going to move the needle. And I didn't think this was going to fully turn into like a PSA of like, save the $20 million movie, but like, we really need to consider saving the $20 million movie.
Yeah, even the movies that we don't recommend, even the movies that we say that we don't necessarily know we like, like Twilight of the Gold and stuff like that. Yes, I know it's a Showtime film, but it wasn't made for Showtime. Showtime bought it and broadcast it. Yeah. Right. And like, there was a system that allowed a movie like that to get made, right? And that's what I miss. I miss that the system being more risky and being more open to trying shit, and that's funny, because I'm sure that at the time you can find tons of people talking about how Hollywood has just gotten stagnant, right? But like, there's something really scary these days about that particular conversation. About how Hollywood is stagnant? Yeah. Yeah. Well, Siegen, I didn't know how many superhero movies were coming out this year until I saw Mandalorian and Grogu. Because that was like the first time I saw all the trailers
for all of the superhero themed entertainment that is happening. And that's crazy to me, right? I didn't know there was a new Spider-Man coming out. I did not know there was a new Spider-Man coming out. Straight up, right? Like, that's crazy. Supergirl, like, I knew about Supergirl, but I didn't know about some of the other stuff that's there. I mean, this is all going to be bigger stuff there, but you're not wrong, right? Things like Twilight of the Gold's getting made, or Angels in America, right? Being made for pay cable channels. I'm sure the discussion there was like, well, Hollywood's got no new ideas because all they're doing is adapting plays now, right? We didn't know how good we had it when all we're doing is adapting plays now. Because it wasn't all we were doing. It was just one of the streams to creating entertainment. And now there legitimately feels like there are only 2 streams, and I do not mean like streaming streams, I mean like rivers that entertainment can come to us from. It either comes superhero, big budget blockbuster stuff, right? Stuff with established fans, or we're trying to win Oscars and awards with this stuff.
And sometimes it's both. Look at fucking One Battle After Another, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that there's enough to be said, at least from a marketing standpoint, of that movie definitely trying to sell itself as both an Oscar baity film, but also at the same time something that like very, very similar to a maybe darker superhero story, right?
Yeah, like sort of a realistic, like where we tried to make Batman grittier with like 89. Like, let's look at like the grit of the vigilante, of the like a true rebel, right? But they also kind of make them superheroes, and the villain. God, Sean Penn in One Battle After Another. We haven't really talked about One Battle After Another, have we?
No.
But like, yeah, like that is a fantastic world that movie takes place in, compared to the relative mundanity of something like Rental Family. The tributaries are being damned off because we only see profits coming from those 2 streams. And it's scary that entertainment really seems to only care about profits anymore. It doesn't care about telling a good story. And at the end of the day, Rental Family is a really good story. It's like several really good stories. That's the other thing, right? Like, everybody has it. We haven't even talked about like the big twist in this film that is like heartbreaking, but also not given too much screen time to feel like we're trying to make a meal out of this. But like, it's important. It's truly important. And that's that Tada, the guy who is like the owner.
Oh, right. Yes.
And runs Rental Family. Like, he lost his family. We don't know what to the extent of that is. But like, after Brendan Fraser's first job, we see him come home to a wife and a son, and it seems like everything's good. But after Akio quits the job, saying, I'm not going to do this anymore, and it's kind of like the whole structure of this world that this company exists in is starting to show cracks. He goes home to his wife and son, and like, it seems perfectly normal, but then when she goes to rub his shoulders, he's like, that's too hard. Can we take it from the beginning? And we find out that his wife and son are people that he has hired to play those roles. But he wears a wedding ring. We don't know if his wife and son have like passed on or not part of this world anymore, if he lost them because of his dedication to this job, like that he clearly throws all of himself into. But like, that implication that he's not only the founder, he's a member, he's using the service, like, it speaks to how much he believes in it, but B, it really hammers home the idea that like psychiatric help and mental illness is stigmatized in this country. So this is the alternative we're able to offer people.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's a hard moment. And again, could have easily been much darker, could have been played for a much more sinister effect, but they don't let it go that way. It really is, I mean, pathetic sounds mean, but like it is really kind of like pitiful, like watching this moment happen to him. And he just simply just asks them to just go home. It's not like he like loses his shit on them or anything weird like that. He's just like, no, this just isn't, I'm not feeling this now. And part of that is because of, like you said, because he's seeing like all of the cracks of what this actually is, and he's questioning the value of it. But I do think that they do all come back around to the idea that this is an important service. It's just that, should check in about guidelines from time to time, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and also the other way, as Sejan said, it could have gone really dark. It could have gone heavy on the saccharine sweetness of it all. The fact that they just let that moment exist in this film, and it's not like a thing where he's like breaks down with them and he's like, I just miss them, or like something like that. Like it is legitimately shown for the exact amount of screen time that it has to exist for us to understand as a viewer the significance of it. Like they don't try to make
a beautifully well made film.
Yeah, it really is. It is a film to be celebrated, and not only am I happy that we're celebrating it, not only am I happy that like is the last film that you and I got to see together in person, Sejan. And that so it holds a special moment, right? Like this gets some accolades from us being a film that like imagine if it sucked, Sejan. Imagine if we saw this movie and hated it, and like we just had to stew in the fact that like, oh, the last movie we saw together wasn't very good.
I mean, I think we were never gonna hate it, right?
No, I don't.
There was definitely a world in which we were having a conversation about how we love this movie, but we understand why but that's just not it. That's like this is a movie that I really wanted. I mean, this is a movie I intend to buy people for Christmas. Like I can almost guarantee you that I'm gonna get my mom a copy of this and possibly other family members and friends and stuff. This is the kind of movie that I want to share with people and show people. Yeah, it's just
I mean,
it's so rare to just have just a good movie these days without caveats, without, bumpers, without any real, like, I don't think that there's anybody in my life that I would sit down, start watching this movie with, and then instantly realize I've made a mistake, right? And that includes some of the Mormons I hang out with and stuff too, like, which that, believe me, that happens so much. I had somebody, I ended up watching When Harry Met Sally this week, and it was great. We'll talk about that. God, I miss Rob Reiner. Like, we'll definitely talk about that. But like, it came about because of somebody that we did not want to watch it with asking about it, and we were just like, we're not going to watch that movie with you. You can watch that movie on your own. But then when we came home, we were like, I don't want to watch When Harry Met Sally now.
Yeah, have you guys been like really wanting to watch When Harry Met Sally since like we talked to them about it? Because I have. Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, Love Actually, New Year's Eve, 2005. That's what I'm going to say. Right? With guy out in the woods, right? I love when I don't get to use names with you, but then you know who I'm talking about, right? Who newly found, like, he had gotten into a new church, was born again, like, found religion, and it worked for him, and I'm happy for him. But that was the wrong group of people to put Love Actually on for.
Oh, shit, man.
Yeah, so, I mean, I get it. It's that. But, yeah, no, this is not one of those movies. I don't think you're right. And also, with this movie, right, you're like, oh, no, I made a mistake. I don't think I could ever feel this way, because even if I was with somebody who I'm like, they're not going to like this movie, I still get to walk away watching Rental Family again.
Yeah, but I don't think, this isn't the kind of movie that you feel like you might be inflicting it on somebody, right? Like if I sat down with somebody to watch Darkly Noon or Twilight of the Golds, right? I mean, honestly, even at that point, Miss Winterbourne, there are triggering things in those films that I would feel irresponsible forgetting about. If somebody said, like, I don't know if I can handle, this, I would feel a bit of regret in showing that movie to the wrong person. I don't think that there's anybody I could possibly feel that way with this film. If anybody has any huge issue in any way with this film, like emotionally, I don't understand. I wouldn't understand that, I guess is what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
no, I don't think that this is a movie I'd regret showing anybody.
No, I get that. And also, I think that the Mom and Dill will be happy to hear you saying that about Darkly Noon, like inflicting it. They were like, does he know what this is? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he does. Like, I don't think either of them were upset that they watched it, but there was definitely some questioning of like, why did CJ want you guys to watch this movie?
I mean, I love how often you just bring your family into things. I never say, "Hey, show this to your mom and dad."
That's true. That's true.
I hope that they understand this.
No. This is a good conversation that we're having. But I do give them the opportunity. Like at the beginning of May, I'm like, these are the Brendan Fraser films that I'm going to be watching. I'd like to do them the Sunday morning before I record. Are any of these something that you're interested in? And legitimately, they're like, yeah, I'll watch all of these. Like, there was enough interest from all of these films that they were not like, they weren't upset to sit down and watch them. Darkly Noon is the one where they're like, what the hell? But then that what the hell went away when we watched Twilight of the Golds, a film definitely inflicted upon people by Devin Decker, taking all of the blame squarely on my shoulders for that one. And they're like, this movie, I think I actively hate. Like, Darkly Noon was weird, but I think I might actively hate this film. Yeah, like, they're not, it's not like Clockwork Orange. They're not, like, strapped down to the chair and I'm like, today we're watching the Passion of Darkly Noon. No, I give them the opportunity to, like, research the film and even Is God Is, like, she's like, I think it might be a little bloody for me, and I'm like, you know what, you've seen bloodier films than Is God Is based on that trailer. We're gonna go see it. Like, and I get it. I mean, hang-ups come from the hang-ups and the way that movies are sold, right? Is God Is trying to be sold in a world where violence is how we sell movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, like, and like CJ said, where he didn't even remember if he saw a trailer for Rental Family. I only saw a trailer for Rental Family before something. I couldn't even, like, this is why I've started writing down the trailers that I see before movies. Because I really like having that ability to go back and see the trailers that were paired with specific movies. Because that's how I found out about Rental Family. Was like, there was a trailer before probably one of the more artsy films that I saw, like near the tail end of last year. And I'm like, oh, that looks good. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
And it's Brendan Fraser. But yeah, so I mean, I think, yeah, you're right. This is not one that I would feel bad about in any way, because there's nothing really like offensive in this film. It plays everything really straight, and the stuff that could potentially, and you know what the big thing that I really like about this one? Brendan Fraser at the end of this movie is not dating Mia's mom, right? That is the American really ending of this.
Mm-hmm.
Is, you love my daughter so much, now I want to give dating you a chance. Like, no, sometimes
or
people
like,
could just
you
like
pretended
people.
to be my dad. Do you want to really be my dad? Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
No. I'm happy with my prostitute relationship. We're actually really good friends, me and Natsumi. That scene is awesome. At the Monster Cat Festival, the one time that he runs into somebody, like, while he's working, because again, you'd think that could happen at any given moment in this particular line of work. But then again, the people who know what's going on, they're probably not going to approach you, right?
Yeah.
But,
right, exactly.
The woman, the sex worker that he has a relationship with, because we see them together multiple times, not just that night that she says, you and I do similar work. Like, that's actually, I really love.
She openly talks about giving him free time. Like, yes, it's a cute joke because it's quote unquote his wedding night, but like, it is not necessarily something that somebody in that position has to ever do for somebody. So
what struck me in that moment is that she's like, it's your wedding night after all. And then she kissed him on the lips. Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman would never.
Yeah, I do think there is something to be said, though, about their relationship. Because then when they do run into her in public, what's really interesting about the two of them in that moment, Philip and Natsumi, is that they are still very kind to each other.
Oh, yeah.
They're not like weirded out that they've run into each other. They're not offended that this thing, oh no, this part of my life is now on display. It's none of that. They are just like, oh shit, for this kid who thinks that I'm playing her father, we do not need to have this conversation, right? So they like kind of just both mentally like check in, agree, and then like they have a very sweet moment with the kid and reading her palm. It is it's just a genuinely sweet moment, just in a movie full of them. It's great.
No, I mean, I think that I do like, I used to work with your father. Oh, you're in computers? I was in customer service. Is a great wink and nod to the people at home. And then when she's like, this one's on the house, and he's like, no, I owe you, and he pays her. Like, that's really nice. But best of all with that whole thing is that she reads his palm when they're in the bathtub together. Yes. Like, they weirdly like foreshadow that she's going to be like, just this random fortune teller at the Monster Tap
I think
Festival.
She happens to, there's this kind of element where like, oh, this is actually just a thing that she actually does. Like she puts some stock in it, even if it's just enough to do it at festivals, but like.
It's nice. It is. Yeah, it's just a delightful film. And honestly, I mean, that's what we've been talking about for like the last hour and a half or so, is just how delightful this film is. So if you watch one film from Brendan Fraser History Month 2026, seek out Rental Family. And again, the only one that I would not actively recommend out of this month's is Twilight of the Golds. I think that it's just... It's a relic in just so many ways. In things,
even if you're morbidly curious, like I'm sure that there's some YouTube clips or something that'll get enough of the point across that you'll see what it is. Like I don't think that there's for the morbidly curious, you get it in about the first 5 minutes, and then you don't need to keep watching that movie.
Yeah, you could watch just the first scene of like if you have Howdy. And you want to watch it on that. We're not sponsored by Howdy anyway. In fact, I think Howdy would be pretty upset about how we're referring to them as a streaming platform over the last few episodes of this show. I gotta be honest with you. They're kind of getting the dregs, aren't they, Siege? But if you happen to have Howdy, and I think it comes along that, like, if you're on a Roku box, then you have it, because it's, like, free to watch with ads. If you just watch... until they stop playing Under Pressure in the movie, which is still honestly like the first 10 minutes of the film, you would get enough of what the film is about. Because it is certainly something that just continues to try and drive home the same point. But hey, that's what it is. That's celebrating Brendan Fraser, right?
Yeah, man. No, definitely. This was a blast.
Yeah.
Always appreciate this time. Yeah. 10 years, man.
10 years. 10 years on the Say Report. 11 years overall, which is just the really crazy thing. We did it, Siege, and we committed to the bit. Let no one say we cannot commit to the bit. That's sort of what we're proving in this season of the Say Report. Remember when we watched the 5th American Pie movie?
Yeah. I do remember that, unfortunately, rather vividly.
Yeah, something about seeing a bunch of just naked, flaccid penises that just sticks in your mind. That's why Eurotrip is something I sometimes wake up screaming in horror, covered in a cold sweat. All right, so before we say, like, we finally closed the book on Brendan Fraser History Month 2026, we don't have a quiz this year. I wish that's what I were about to interrupt, but we are going to pause and acknowledge and identify the fact that our Quizmaster General Will Fournier, the reason he's unavailable, I mean, he's a new dad, right? He's been busy keeping a human being alive.
Yep. Brendan Fraser Fournier.
Yeah. And it is a little girl, so I do appreciate his commitment to the bit.
Man. But congrats, brother.
Yeah, big congrats to Will as part of this, because we definitely felt his absence celebrating this year's Brendan Fraser History Month, because he's a big part of it. We try to get him on. Hopefully we'll be able to find a time to get him on this year. I mean, we got some milestones coming up, but that's part one of what I do want to make sure we say for anybody who missed it. And no quizzes this year.
I mean, hopefully he's smart enough to prioritize the baby over us.
Oh, well, yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Well, he certainly is. Like, he's like... When I'm like, do you think you'll be able to be on an episode? His response is like, I would love to, but also I'd feel a little guilty not spending that time with my daughter. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I completely get that.
Overly polite way to say you fucking idiot, but
right. Well, I didn't want to. It's weird, right? Like you're like trying to be polite. I didn't want to not offer him the opportunity to be on an episode and write a quiz, right? Like, you want to, it's nice to be asked sometimes.
It's nice to be asked. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. It's an honor just to be nominated. So there's that. And hopefully I can at least get him to write one for next year if he can't be present, right? We'll give him a whole year. He can put one together. The other thing is, Sejan, do you know what comes out on Friday, May 29th?
Oh, May 29th. No, I thought you were talking about the next week, because I was going to be like, scary movie.
Well, no. The biopic where Brendan Fraser plays Dwight D. Eisenhower, Pressure.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that was a biopic. I've been seeing ads in like newspapers and shit for Pressure coming out, and I completely forgot that's what that movie was. There's been this weird thing because of the Michael Jackson one being out right now, Michael, and it being from the guy that did Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
I cannot stop thinking that it's just another Freddie Mercury documentary every time I see the name.
You know what? Since Michael has been brought up, I feel like I have the carte blanche to do this. One of the bartenders that who I'm friendly with, because I have a couple of haunts, right? He really wanted to watch that, and one of his kids is works in computer sciences. So he's like, I got it for you, Dad. It's all set. They sit down to watch it, and one of the less savory corners of the internet is fucking John Travolta as an angel.
Yes.
It is 1995's Michael. And I'm just like, that is exactly how I wanted this story to end. He's like, it took us an hour to find it, and then it starts, and I'm like, was it Travolta with angel wings? Yeah, what the fuck is that? Totally made my day. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the Pressure, someone's like, oh, yeah, Brendan Fraser's in a movie. And I'm like, he's in a movie? Because the only thing I'm thinking about is upcoming Brendan Fraser stuff is Breaking Bear. The to-be animated adaptation of Breaking Bad, where it's bears in the woods who have to sell meth.
I just, I am dying to find out if we're ever going to get any hint of anything from Batgirl. I know that it's a long shot that we'll ever get a Coyote versus Acme style resurgence of it coming back to theaters. But I think about all of the different versions of Superman that we've gotten to see over the years, and all of the different web releases of the Fantastic Four made for TV movie and stuff like that had not really been released in advance and stuff. Those kinds of backdoor releases, just because you brought up, and we're talking about Brendan Fraser, but you're talking about going into those corners of the internet. I am dying for somebody on that side of the web to do something about Batgirl, because I think that there would be a fantastic little cultural moment of that movie finding its way into people's hands at this point.
Even if it were post-production stuff,
exactly.
I just want to see the acting. Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah. Got something from it. It's been coming up. We're not the only ones who are talking about Batgirl, right? I mean, it is Brendan Fraser History Month. So And it's totally Bader Meinhof. I understand that it's Bader Meinhof, but the other nice thing about doing Brendan Fraser History Month is just how much he like seems to come up with other people. Like,
yeah,
because I'm looking for it. And Batgirl has been something that I've seen a lot of people talking about, as in terms of like, you know, now it's Supergirl and how people like people are not excited about the Supergirl movie. And I again, I've seen like a trailer. I'll probably check it out, right? Just for Momoa as freaking Lobo, right? In terms of all the other stuff looks exciting too, but like that's enough for me to go buy a ticket and see it in theaters. I gotta be honest.
I think it's suffering a little bit from a bit of an edgelord kind of mentality in some of its marketing right now. Yeah. It's really pushing itself as like a edgier Superman movie, but that's so, and I don't think that that's necessarily what the movie is. Don't know, haven't seen it yet. What I'm saying is that's what the marketing's doing right now, and that was one of the very specific things people loved about Superman, was that it wasn't that. It was a turn away from that kind of superhero storytelling. So for them to kind of just be swinging hard back into that, it feels really kind of disappointing, I think, to a lot of people. Again, who knows what the movie is actually going to end up being, but I've heard a lot of people saying that they're not interested in it because it just looks like it's just going to be Guardians of the Galaxies again, or it's just going to be The Boys or something, you know, like they or Invincible, right? Like we've got edgy superhero shit right now, you know, and specifically from James Gunn, we've got edgy superhero shit. We don't need any more of that. And you know, I'm curious to see how it does. I'm curious to see what it actually is, because who knows?
For better or for ill, this morning I started seeing the comparisons to the Marvels. And honestly, the parts of it that I liked are like, please don't compare Supergirl to the Marvels, because these are the reasons why the Marvels failed. And the biggest reason why that they cited was that it had too much of a reliance on the extended universe of Disney Plus original series to understand who characters were in that movie. So for the people who only go to the movies, they were just lost. And like, that's not going to happen with Supergirl.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that's a good argument. That's something I hadn't even really considered. So yeah. But to get back to Brendan Fraser before we end this one, I also think now's a pretty good time, because it was directed by Andy Garcia, another weird like touchstone in our lives. He just premiered in France at the Cannes Film Festival the film Diamond, which also features Brendan Fraser as Danny Boy McVicker. So I don't know how big a role he'll have in that, but like, we're going to be eating good in terms of like Brendan Fraser stuff this year. I want to see this movie. Oh my God. This film. So the top build is Lee Chen, but then you got Brendan Fraser, Dustin Hoffman, Robert Patrick, Danny Houston, Bill Murray. Like,
Jesus.
Yeah. What is this stacked film? I don't know. It just premiered. I mean, it premiered in May, right? So I think Andy Garcia knows what we're putting down, right? And I think he's picking it up. But yeah, so that'll be something to look forward to. And Pressure, which I know that we've been talking all about what next week's episode is going to be that. There might be a little bit of Brendan Fraser, because I've already got my tickets to go see Pressure.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm excited to see him in something like that. All right. So, Sejin, as the book closes on our 10th season celebrating Brendan Fraser History Month, is there anything that you want to say, get off your chest, let the people know you're feeling?
I'll have what she's having.
That was Rob Reiner's mother. Imagine. All right, yeah. So thank you to everybody for being here celebrating Brendan Fraser History Month with us. We love it. We love what we do, and we love that you guys react to it, and we look forward to doing it again next year, which I will say this, 2027, we're still not going to be looking at Emperor of the Dragon King, or Tomb of the Dragon King, right? Tomb of the Dragon Emperor is the name. I mean,
we might have to do it, because if there's going to be some more mummy stuff, but we'll talk.
I really want to do it for the 20th anniversary, and I think that we'll I know, but this is production meeting stuff. You guys don't want to see this, but we'll see how things break down. All that. Thank you again for joining us. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can join our Discord. Invitations to join are available wherever we are on social media, which as of this recording is still Facebook and X, formerly Twitter. Just navigate to the bio, the about section, and there'll be a link to click to join our Discord. If you're not on those social media sites, and honestly, nobody can blame you, all right, because Sejan isn't even on those sites, right? One of us is like, no, thank you. You can get an invitation to join the Discord by sending an email to us directly.
You can only find me on OnlyFans.
Yeah, and I wouldn't subscribe. I mean, I want Sejan to like succeed on OnlyFans, but that was too much for me, is what I'm gonna say. But then again, I've known the kid for 20 years, so like, I like a little mystery in our friendship, Sejan. Anywho, send an email to us, thesayreport@gmail.com. We can facilitate an invitation to join the Discord, or if Discord is still too much like social media for you, we can correspond via email. Again, thesayreport@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts, your questions, your hopes, your dreams, really anything you want to share. The most important thing to remember is that if it's for me, Devin Decker, or him, Sejan Sarwick, you just put our name in the subject line, and we can make sure that it is distributed appropriately to the Say Reporter of your choosing. But as always, just keep in mind that if you send something to Sejan and he's like, we need to talk about this on the show, or you send something to me and I'm like, oh my goodness, this might be the definitive top 10 list of movies that start with the letter O, we're going to talk about it on the show. Any submissions are open to being scrutinized, discussed, and shared in an episode of the Say Report. And I think that makes our non-existent Laura happy every time I say that. I invented him, so I get to choose the decisions, but he's kind of gotten away from me. All of that said, again, thank you so much for joining us for another Brendan Fraser History Month. We look forward to you joining us next episode. And William, if you have the time, please bring us home. See you next month. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devin Decker and Sejan Sarwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.